Hello everyone, this is introduction about .NET framework. We're gonna start programming language with the C Sharp, but we need to learn some basic stuff like a .NET framework and stuff like that. So let's go. So in the beginning, we have some terms we need to understand, like a .NET. We pronounce it like a .NET. It is what mean .NET? It's a framework. It's framework meaning that's environment that we can run our code that provides programming language guidance and that used to develop wide range of the applications such as websites, mobile applications, apps, or Windows based application. So webs, any website we can create it, mobiles, any sound, mobile apps, any software or any applications that run in the smartphones. Windows based application, any programming running in the computer, not as a, applications, web application. .NET Framework, it's supporting by different programming language like C Sharp, VB, .NET, C++, F Sharp, etc. There's many programming language work under .NET. So, but we're gonna use C Sharp because most famous programming language. So we have something called CLS, which is what the CLS. It is Common Language Specification. So when we run uh, um, or we run the code from the C Sharp, there's some things here it's gonna happen. So we have a C Sharp, then we have a compiler. What the compiler does, the software that translate. So we're gonna write the code by our language. So we need to translate this in the end. This code what we written by C Sharp, which is using English alphabetics and some keyword. We're using the English alphabetics. So in the end, this will be converted to the native code or machine code. So native code or machine code have a 0110, so that's language that understand by machines. So we need how they convert this one. We need something called compiler. So the compiler is gonna read our code and translate it to the bytecode. So the bytecode, which is we have a Microsoft intermediate language called MSIL, which is MS stands for Microsoft, I for intermediate, L language. So intermediate language. Then this is we call also common intermediate language. Then uh, after the compiler, so because we explain from .NET framework could be C Sharp, source code could be V.NET or any programming language. We have a compiler time. This is going to be compiler time. So the compiler time that when you can run the code and we're gonna show in the practice when you create some projects or and some small applications at the beginning. Um, this is will be our compiler time. Compiler time when we're converting what we written by developer or by us actually. So then we go to the bytecode. So the bytecode is intermediate. This is the between the machine code and our source code. So our source code, this is will be. So this is the compile time. Then we have a runtime. Runtime. So the compile time will make sure everything correct. We'll make sure everything written correctly and everything's run fine. Then this is the compile time. Compiler time. Check the error of the code. If there's no error, syntax error, and there's no like a division on the zero or something like that, then we're gonna go to the bytecode. Then the bytecode will be moving to the native code, which is this is called runtime. So if we have a compiler time and runtime, and this durations is like maybe takes like less than a minute, but then after that, if everything go through smoothly, then we're gonna have output. We're gonna have the output in this one. So let's go up again. So during this conversions, we have something called CLS. The CLS is the part of the specification of the .NET framework. So the part of the specification that we using to design and support language. So we need that when converting from the C Sharp source code to the bytecode, that developer will be provide we're gonna check the code and we check the language, ensure everything's correctly, and this one. So this is called CLS, Common Language Specification. Then we have a common type system. Common type systems, it is the we have we could have a value for the data. For example, if I have a input like a first name on the last name for a student. So if I have my application run something like that, so it's like a standard defined using data value types and .NET framework and define the collection of data types, which is used for managing and runtime facility error. So we have a value type, we have a reference type. Value type, the value, for example, 5 plus 5 is 10. So the value, new value is 10. But the 10, it is exists in the somewhere in memory. So sometimes I tell you, we ask the program, what the 5 plus 5, the program or someone tell us is 10, or this is the value, or I say what the 5 plus 5, they tell me go to the location, in this memory location, specific memory location, you're going to find results. Sometimes we provide the result, sometimes we will provide the where the location of where the data is stored. So when you put the value types, sometimes I don't want to send the data through the some maybe some environment, so I send the data only. Sometimes we send the reference of the type, reference meaning the locations, the address of the type. Okay, so this we call this under called common type systems. Common language runtime, which is it is managed also execution environment part of Microsoft.NET framework. We have a CLR manage the execution program. Execution meaning running programming. We get the output of the programming. So CLR, it is also known as a Common Intermediate Language (CIL), and also handles sorry for the phone ringing. So the common language runtime, it is where environment responsible to transfer or convert the execution to the code into the byte code, which is machine learning, or sorry, machine language format. So this is also the flow chart. So we have a source code here, then we have the .NET compiler, and contemporary we call assembly. Assembly also sometimes we call DLL format, DLL, which is digital link library, stuff like that, or called assembly, meaning where the format become understandable by machine language, so it can be accessible or running in the compiler. We call sometimes assembly. So this is the chart showing the execution. We have a compiler time, we have a runtime versus compiler time, which is converting the source code to the byte. Then from the byte, we encode the native, which is machine language will be our last format. So if we are reach this point, meaning our code running smoothly. Thank you so much. Have a good day.